This is a UC San Diego Blinkcast.
Okay, my name is John Smith and welcome everyone. If anyone's ever been to a talk that I've done before, you know that I like to integrate some laughter and playfulness into everything I do. And around the issue of addictions, good, bad, and healthy habits, I think all of us have to relax a little bit more about it, be more realistic about it, and laugh a little bit. So we're going to see a little 5-minute, 2 or 3 minute thing by John Panette here where he talks about food and eating. And if you'll notice, he's a very heavy man, and one of the ways that he's made his money in life is he makes fun of food and his own eating, and I think it's something that we can all identify with, and it'll be a segue into the presentation. So why don't we listen to John right now? It's John Panette. If we could go to the presentation. So that's a good way to start any presentation. And all of us have conflicting feelings about foods. Rarely do any of us eat food just for nutritional value. And that's not really its intention. It offers us so many other things, so many other possibilities. We eat food to express love, to get comfort, to deal with anxiety. Here we're here today to talk about the human experience of addictions and health so we can normalize it and to identify when and if it becomes a problem, right? So here's my first slide. On anything, whether we're talking about addictions or health, I give you these questions to ask yourself. These are health-based questions. Number one, are you living as healthy and happy as possible? Most people wake up each day and say, God, I hope I make it through this day. Instead of saying, today my goal is going to be as healthy and happy as possible, and to let that guide you along the way. The second question is, especially if you are someone who struggles with an addiction, or you know of someone who struggles with addiction, am I accepting complete responsibility for myself and my life? Am I accepting responsibility for every decision? I'm old enough that I was around when Starbucks first came on the market 25 years ago. And I used to go into Starbucks not because I was a coffee drinker, but because I used to like to watch people react to the questions they were asked at Starbucks. Because Starbucks was the first coffee shop that added syrup and whipped cream. Before that, we all just drank our coffee. So I would stand there and people would come up to the counter and they'd offer their mocha, cafe, whatever they're doing, put all this kind of, and they would be asked this following question. Would you like whipped cream? Now back then, whipped cream was a new thing. And they would stop and they'd think for a minute, whipped cream, should I have whipped cream? I know it's not good for me, but if Starbucks says it's okay, I'm gonna say yes, right? Now there's no hesitation, you go to Starbucks. Whipped cream? Yeah, I want some whipped cream. Could I get a double of whipped cream, please? Right? But we have to accept responsibility for ourselves, making decisions that are best for us. Are we prepared for the ups and downs of life? Under what conditions do I do best? Very important question. And can I make my life more fun or more whatever? If what we're going for with some of the drugs that we use or substances we use, if we're looking for fun or comfort or connection, let's get more of that in our lives. Okay, next one. This may seem like a strange slide, and by the way, I'm a very fast talker. I'm from New York City. We like to get things in. So if you have any questions or want to stop me, just raise your hand. This may seem like a funny thing to put in here, but if our goal in life is happiness, and I'm assuming that it is, let's not beat around the bush. Here are all the things that lead to personal happiness. And I actually have a handout for you on your seats, the orange one, that lists a whole number of things that can make you happier. And the instructions are just choose 3. Improve your life with 3. Now you'll notice if we go down this list, there's nothing on this list about overeating, drinking, or taking drugs. Simply those do not lead to happiness. If you're interested in happiness, this is actually supported by research by a professor up at UC Riverside, expressing gratitude, optimism, avoiding social comparison, acts of kindness. You go through the list yourself. If you want to be happier in your life, put more of these things in your life, right? Random acts of kindness. It seems that people who practice spirituality or religion seem to be happier. And the bottom thing is taking care of your body, your mind, and your spirit. That's back to the healthy issue. Right? Any questions about that? So if you're here for anything, walk away with what you can do to be happier in your life. Next thing. Okay. One of the things I like to talk to people about when they come into my office or when we talk about addiction is that in some ways we're not even programmed to make healthy decisions. And if we understand that, we can then make decisions based on how hard it is, right? So I bring in the wisdom of the Buddha with all great respect. The Buddha told us that the path to life and life satisfaction is moderation. And everyone listens to the Buddha and says, yes, that must be true, moderation. But he left out the second most important point. He didn't tell us, number two, oh, by the way, moderation doesn't come naturally to us. We are not naturally moderate people. So that moderation is always going to be a challenge for us. It takes discipline. It takes effort, right? Buddha sat under a tree for days and days and days until he finally found liberation. He didn't go to the local bar, order a Budweiser, and get the buzz of a beer. He had to work at it, right? So for all of us, when we think of ourselves and our struggles, it has to be with some gentleness and some compassion, because in some ways we're wired to make bad decisions. Number 4 down there says, nobody craves broccoli. We have a lot of cravings, but isn't it interesting that we don't crave healthy things? You never hear someone say, God, I really could use some broccoli. No salt, no cheese, just broccoli, right? What does the mind crave? The mind craves coffee, and right now I'm on a kick of corn chips with tons of salt, right? I just went to the doctor. He said, your blood pressure's high. What do you think's going on? Well, I'm eating 4 bags of corn chips every night, right? He says, why? And I say, because I don't crave broccoli. I crave corn chips, right? We're wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. We are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. We have to watch that dynamic in our life because it influences the choices that we will make, which then leads to some bad behaviors, bad habits, and addictive behaviors. And then I put on the bottom that the challenge for all of us, if anyone here has ever had an infant baby, has anyone had an infant baby, a baby, your baby? You'll notice the first time that that baby eats sugar, his or her life changes dramatically. You put it on their tongue, it's like they freak out. They love this, they want more of it. We have a picture of my 1-year-old son. For his first year birthday, they made him a carrot cake. And he literally, they put it in front of him, he literally buried his face in it. We all laughed, isn't this terrific? He's addicted to sugar at 1. That's how powerful it is. The minute sugar touches our tongues, that's what we want more of. If we understand it, we can deal with it. It's not personal weakness. It's not necessarily addictive predisposition. It's just the way we're wired. Sometimes we're wired to make unhealthy choices. Any questions or thoughts, disagreements? All right. You know, I go for a lot of self-understanding as the way to get around this. Okay, here we go. Thanks, Crystal. Oh, here's some other things that make it harder for us to make healthy decisions. In the United States, we feel we are deserving of certain things. If you listen to any advertisement that's trying to sell you something, they will say, you deserve this. It's very big in our country. You deserve that. And when we believe we deserve that, we end up making funny choices. So you'll sit there at the table, you'll have your coffee and your donut, there'll be 2 or 3 donuts at the table, and your mind will say, you know what, today you deserve a second donut. That third donut looks pretty good too. Because in our country, we deserve it. You see it, automobile advertisements, anything they want you to buy. You've worked hard, you really deserve this. You have to watch out for that. The second thing we believe is life should be fair and it should work out. We really believe that's true. That we can all be independent, beautiful, and confident. We have this image in the United States that we should all be confident all the time. And we should always feel good all the time. And this feeds right into any addictive behavior. And I'm going to tie this all together, I think, but we'll see. Things should be easy, and we love in this country that things can be supersized. Do you want it supersized? Yes, I do. Boy, you can have that supersized. Would you like it? Yes, I do. You go into any fast food restaurant, I love these things, right? You get your hamburger and your fries, and for 50 cents more, you can get a supersized Coke. Do you want that supersized Coke? Yes, I do. And if I can't drink it all, I'll pour it over my head, just because you're giving it to me. All right? So, when this feeds into the whole issue of alcohol, drugs, gambling, pornography, there are the substances we worry about, and there are the behaviors we worry about. Everything that I've said feeds naturally into it. If anyone goes to has anyone gone to a casino here in San Diego? Yes, we all have. The interesting thing about a casino is it takes no effort. You can go, you can sit, relax, you press a button. The ding, the ding, the ding, the ding. You can go for all those things we hunger for without any effort at all, because life should be easy, and to get on that list of things that lead to happiness, that takes effort. It's not that gambling's bad. It's not that some of the things that can be addictive are bad. When we do them too much, they can be problematic. You want to change the way you feel tonight when you get home? Have a Budweiser. It's not a bad thing, but we just have to recognize what it does. It gives us relief, a change of feelings, and experience without effort, and that's what we like. Second one, stimulating feels good, supposed to have a zing. Most addictive things have a zing. Zing! It makes us feel good. The difficulty with crystal methamphetamine, if anyone's ever struggled with that, is it gives you a zing that after the first 2 or 3 times really feels like crap. It's a terrible drug. Choose a better drug. But it gives you a zing, and it gives you a change. Sometimes addictive behavior, the person's just looking for a change of experience, even if it's a bad experience. For years I've worked with heroin addicts, crystal methamphetamine addicts, and they'll even tell you, well, it really doesn't feel that good. I don't know why I do it. It gives you a change. It's easy. Bang! You're different. These are the dynamics that pull us into unhealthy behaviors. All right, it helps with loneliness. It provides safety and reliability. I'm just going to go back to gambling because I have something to say about that in the next slide. But if you walk into a casino, the first thing you see is people. You don't necessarily have to relate to them, but there's people. There's noise. There's lights. It pulls us in. We're predisposed to be pulled in. We have to watch out for it. Right? A lot of loneliness is helped with eating. We don't know what to do at night. We eat. It gives us a feeling of safety. It gives us a feeling of connection. And then one after that is it becomes the organizing principle of our life. We're all looking for something to organize our lives around. And for people who get hooked into an addiction, the addiction or the bad habit becomes the organizing principle of their life. Can't wait to get there. Can't wait to buy it. Can't wait to do what I do to get it. Right? And then we all believe, finally on the bottom, we all believe that if it becomes a problem, I'll just give it up. I'll be like everyone else. If it becomes a problem, I'll just give it up. It'll be easy. I'll know it's a problem. I'll think about it thoughtfully, and then I'll just give it up. But we all know that whether we've struggled with something, and probably we've all struggled with something in our lives, or someone we love struggles with something, that last one is just not true. When it's got you, and you need some help. All right? Any questions or thoughts, reactions, disagreements? It's a fabulous presentation, and you guys are enjoying the heck out of it, right? Get that on the camera, though. They are enjoying the heck out of it. Thanks, Crystal. Okay. They did some research, and they actually are able to now take a look at the brain and see what the brain does when we're taking things that are bad for us. So what they did was they took pictures of what was going on in the brain when people were taking cocaine. The brain really likes it. It's one of the things the brain likes. Remember, it doesn't like broccoli, it likes cocaine. It lights up, and they said, what healthy things lighten up the brain like cocaine? What healthy habits can we tell people to do and try to encourage them to put the effort into it to make the brain as happy as cocaine is? And this is what we do. all right? The first one is to dance, to move the body, right? For some reason, the body needs to move. The brain likes it when we dance. The difficulty, you getting all these moves on the thing? The difficulty with dancing is we're a little shy and self-conscious. My wife and I go dancing probably every weekend. There's a couple of great places that have music from 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 because we go to bed at 9:30. And she always drags me out on the floor because she likes to dance. 4/5 of the people there are not dancing. They're just tapping their feet because we're all a little bit self-conscious. But the truth is our body likes to move, and that's especially important since most of us are sitting at the computer all day just pressing keys. Our body likes to move. When you add music and it moves to the music, the brain really likes that. If you're looking for a healthy habit that's going to be an easy habit to keep, dance. My brain, your dance. All right? And the second is listening to music. We all have certain kinds of music. There's something about the vibration of music. If you're a music person, you should be surrounding yourself with the music that stimulates you when you need to be stimulated and soothes you when you need to be soothed. That's the power of the vibrations of music. The next is the confusing one. Part of the research indicates that actually gambling a little, the brain likes that. If anyone in this room has a gambling problem, I'm saying it on camera now, I'm not telling you to gamble. I'm just telling you what the research shows. The brain likes gambling because as adults, we get a little too set in our ways and we're actually happier and feel more alive when we take some risks. The myth about settling in is bad information. As adults, we want to settle in, but not settle down too much. We need to find ways to take risks that stimulate us, and an easy way to do that is gambling. And the brain likes it. The next one is to trust a lot, easier said than done. Apparently trusting more than cynicism is something that's good for us. Stay optimistic, easier said than done, takes a lot of work. The next one is kind of curious, commit random acts of kindness. If you're kind to someone, your brain likes it and they like it. It does something good for us. I'm going to tell you two stories of kindness, two dramatic stories of kindness. From New York, New Jersey area, and they have tolls there. We don't have a lot of tolls here, but most of the roads back there are toll roads. So on this one toll road, there was one toll collector that every morning would have a line of cars about 2 miles long. So his supervisor finally pulled him in and said, "What's going on? Are you like the crappiest toll collector in the world?" He said, "No, what I do is every morning with every toll I collect, I simply bow to them and say thank you." "That's all you do?" "Yes, thank you." "Why do you do that?" "Well, I'm trying to be kind. I'm trying to make people have a good day." And obviously he has positive results because every day people would go to his line. And they said, "Boy, that's a lovely thing. Do you ever run into any difficulties?" He said, "Well, it is New York City, and people do curse me out from time to time. And then I say, thank you for your honesty." One act of kindness, powerful. Also a toll road story, another act of kindness, the same thing, long line, and they asked him what he would do. And what he did with change is every time he gave someone change, he gave them a Hershey's Kiss. Just that simple act of kindness, and the line was 2 miles long. If you want to change your life, if you want to change your department, if you want to change your relationship, think about kindness. The brain likes it, and it has amazing results. Follow where your curiosity leads, and connected to what I started with, keep on laughing. Every list about health, happiness, well-being, resiliency has laughter on it. If there's any way that you can find more laughter in your life, it will lead to your health. Questions, thoughts, reactions. So this is the part where we're talking about healthy habits. And our next slide, okay, back, still into health. There's a book called Younger Next Year. It's a book that's 450 pages. And the whole book says these 4 things. It takes them 450 pages, but they say these 4 things. And the point of the book is anyone over 50 can stay as healthy as they are at 50 all the way into their 80s if they do these 4 things. So I share them with you even though most of you are not at your 50s, because what I think they really speak to is the healthy things we need to do to feel as vibrant and alive as possible. And it's connected to the other lists. The first one is to exercise vigorously. So in the book they have all these stories about the man exercising vigorously. This one you have to figure out for yourself, because each of us exercises vigorously at a different rate. But the truth is, back to moving the body, we would all be healthier and happier if we found some way to exercise. The second is back to eating, change the way you eat. If I sat down with each of you in the room here today, you could probably tell me exactly what you shouldn't be eating and exactly what you should be eating more of. We all know what we need to do to change the way we eat. Find an interest and throw yourself into it. Find something that really, really matters to you and get involved in it. And then finally commit to an active and enjoyable social life. So in the book they talk about how this guy spends full time. What he does is he works out, he hangs out with friends, and he does what he likes to do. And he seems like a pretty healthy guy. They finished writing the book and he died, but up to that point he was pretty healthy. That's a joke. All right? All right, we did talk about positive addictions, and here's what some of the experts say about positive addictions. If you're trying to develop a habit that you want to make into a positive addiction, and understandably, positive addiction is something you do regularly that is good for you versus one that tears you down and hurts you. And here's a list of possibilities up on top. Running, meditating, gardening, exercising, practicing music, learning, artistic pursuits. The list is endless. Knitting, craft work, birding, walking, biking, dancing. These are all the things that you, if you really want to make it an addiction, could make it an addiction. And here's how you do it. It takes some initial effort and commitment. I really want to do this. I'm committed to do this. We start with enthusiasm. God, this sounds like such a good idea. What happens when the enthusiasm goes away? Then we have to stay committed to it. Right? Believe it's good for you. Do it regularly, even at times you don't want to. I think one of the things we all say really, really easily is, I don't want to. I don't really want to. I'm not going to do that anymore. So you have to be committed enough to get past that. Regular times are rituals to perform the activity. Accept your growing proficiency until the routine's established. And after a while they say, if you do this, right? If you become an addicted runner, after a while, when you don't run, you'll miss it. You'll have some kind of physical and psychological withdrawal. So then you'll have to deal with that, right? Or you can just do a variety of things, healthy things that you enjoy. You don't have to develop positive addictions. All the literature about this came out in response to replacing negative addictions with positive addictions. If you just want to live a healthy life, try a variety of different things, try and have some fun as you're doing it, you can do that too. But there are people who get addicted to these things that are healthy. Boy, I think we're going to run through this before we're finished. Okay, so now we're going to talk about when things become addictive. Most presentations on addiction just bang away at addiction, and here I wanted to get a more general perspective and overview. Whether we're talking about alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, there's a growing research you're going to hear in the next couple of years about sugar. You're all going to be questioning your sugar use and your caffeine use. These are the things that indications that it's an addiction and it's a problem. If you think you have a problem, if someone came in here thinking, gee, maybe I have a problem, I'm going to say to you, you probably have a problem and you should think about it. If you came here wondering if someone in your family has a problem, they probably have a problem and you should talk to somebody about it. But here's when it starts to become bad. Number one, you organize your thinking about the object, the substance, or the activity. Right? When someone's addicted to gambling, they can't keep themselves out of the casinos. When someone's addicted to a substance, they get excited just thinking about going to get the substance. People are probably more excited on the way to the bar than they are in the bar. So it becomes the organizing activity of their life. Very hard pattern to break. They continue even if it's causing them harm. Now, we can all identify with that because most of us continue behaviors even though they're causing us harm. People who have a serious addiction are doing it at a more dramatic rate. Compulsively do it, and there's physical withdrawal if they stop. If anyone in the room has ever tried to stop smoking, has anyone tried to stop smoking? Right? It's a brutal thing. You have terrible withdrawal. Every year my wife is Jewish for the holiday, is it Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur where they fast? She gets a horrible headache because she's not drinking coffee. One day. So I told her, drink coffee. I'm not hanging out with you on Yom Kippur unless you drink coffee. I don't think God wants you to suffer that much, honey. Right? But it gets into our bones, it gets into our brains, and we have a physical withdrawal. If you're thinking of stopping something, you have to factor that in. How am I going to manage the psychological part of this? And how am I going to manage the physical part of this? Because after a day or two, that substance begins really calling you again dramatically. It's your friend begging you to come back. Come back. Whipped cream. It's a good thing. Right? There's a loss of control over the behavior. Interesting thing about addiction, if we just talk about alcohol for a minute, if you're someone who's been a drinker and you've given it up and you've been in recovery, and you decide, no, I can drink still. I've had 2 or 3 really good years. I can drink. The interesting thing is, the first time you drink, you go right back to where you were 2 years ago. It's amazing. Right back dramatically. Right? You lose the control. You're drinking that much. The brain says, here we are again. That's why it's such an insidious disease, they call it. They always deny the extent of the problem. So if you have a family member and you're concerned and you try and talk to them, hey, you know what, I think maybe you're doing this a little too much. Invariably, the person will say, nope, I'm not. No. They'll deny it. They'll lie. They'll do anything not to face it. Because in addiction, they talk about hitting rock bottom. Most people don't address the bad stuff until they're forced to address the bad stuff. Because we like what's happening, even if it doesn't always feel good. Right? They hide the behavior. They may black out the details. They can be depressed. Their personality can change. If you have a teenager who you think is using marijuana or drugs, the signs are what? The personality changes. They change their friends, they change their behaviors, they become like a different person. Right? So they'll often say to their parents when their parents are looking through their room, oh, we're looking for drugs. You don't trust me. Well, I trust you. I don't necessarily trust you on drugs because you're a different person. Right? The drugs take over. It may have a history with low self-esteem, abuse, or powerlessness. So that's sort of the profile of when it becomes an addiction. Any questions or thoughts there? Reactions? Yeah.
If you have a family history of generations of, say, low self-esteem or whatever it may be, how does an individual stop that cycle from continuing into the present and future generations?
Well, first of all, you identify it, so you're doing it, right? I've identified that this is an issue. How do I address the issue therapeutically and compassionately, so that it's not an issue for me now and for people in the future? So one of the things we would suggest is you can try counseling, you can try support groups. There's so many resources out there now. With that simple question, you can Google that and get hundreds and hundreds of resources. You have to be honest and you have to take action. And the sooner you do it, the better. Does that give you the answer? Okay. Other questions at this point? All right. Go ahead. Here we go. Oh, okay. Any questions about use of behavior? If you have any questions about your use of behavior or someone in your family, I say be brave. Break the code of silence. All families will naturally hide what's going on out of embarrassment. All individuals will hide what's going on out of shame and embarrassment. If you're here because of a family member, break the code of silence. Talk about it. Find someone to talk about it with. Go to the 12-step meetings, support groups like Al-Anon or Nar-Anon, and talk to other people who are walking the same path as you. There's something so supportive and energizing when we're walking the path with other people who are going through the same thing. So the first piece of advice we would give is break the code of silence. The second is early intervention. The earlier the problem is addressed, the better results you get. We really don't want to wait to rock bottom. So talk to someone as soon as possible. And in the Faculty and Staff Assistance Program, people will come over just to talk it out. Is this a problem? What should I think about? What are my resources? Where do I go from here? Should I relax more? Should I take more action? As human beings, we don't really know how to go about this. We're both pulled into it, and we know it's a problem. It's a very difficult dynamic. Think about it. We're pulled into it, we're invested, and we know it's a problem. So we're doing this dance of, well, what should we do? Talk to someone as soon as possible. Examine all avenues for help. There are so many avenues for help. For years it was the 12-step meetings. A lot of people don't like 12-step meetings. I think they're wonderful, but there's other options. Don't say, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to go to a 12-step meeting. Well, then go to rational recovery or go to counseling or do any number of things. The options for help now are expansive, right? Take responsibility for your part. If it's your problem, take responsibility for it. If it's a family member's problem, you take your responsibility for it. This is how the problem's affecting me. This is what I need to do for myself. They talk about the need for family members to learn to detach with love, not to be sucked into an enabling relationship, right? So you take responsibility for your part. You really cannot do it alone. This is just my opinion. This is just my opinion. This is not fact. There's a lot of people that are offering things on the internet. They're saying, boy, you can really you can change your behavior just by doing this internet program. I don't think that that's true. You can give it a shot, but I don't think that that's true. Because what happens when it becomes a problem, remember the whole concept of organizing in the principle? That's so important to have an organizing principle. Your recovery, your health, your commitment to helping other people recover becomes your new organizing principle. That's the beauty of 12-step. Your life changes dramatically with effort, commitment, and brotherhood, partnership, right? And then you organize yourself and your life around help and recovery. Any questions, thoughts, or reactions at this point? Yeah.
Kind of along the same lines as the previous question, but more specific. If you have a family member with any addiction,
Yeah.
you don't want them to feel ashamed or even get worse or feel like they're being watched. And also you wonder if you should give them a little encouragement to start soon rather than just whenever they want to. What kind of words would you start out with that would create a safe environment, for them, not make them feel as ashamed or?
Well, first of all, the shame and the guilt is not necessarily a bad thing. That's part of the illness. So we're not really working too hard to help them manage their shame and guilt. In some ways, that shame and guilt is going to push them. But I can tell what you're saying. You don't want to add to that. So what I say is just tell them the truth. I'm really concerned about you. I don't know how to help you. I would do anything I could to help you, but really this is on you. And I hope you take action sooner rather than later, and I'll help you take action. But I have to let you know that if this goes on, I have to take care of myself too. Because if it goes on, you will have to take care of yourself too. Right? They talk about addictions being family addictions where they pull in all the family members. That's why things like Al-Anon are so important, or counseling and therapy, so you can keep a safe and loving distance but still be involved in a way that helps them. That's the challenge. How do you keep a safe and loving distance but still be involved in a way that helps them? There's no exact formula for that. It's a very, very confusing dance back and forth. Right? Other questions or thoughts? Do we want to do the microphone, or am I ruining this program here? I think I'm ruining the program. I think I'm supposed to be throwing this microphone at you. So the people on the film can hear, right?
Yes.
Thanks.
If you have a relative who's already taken action and maybe failed, how do you encourage them to try again? They're sort of at a point where they say, well, I've failed. What can I do? How do I try again?
Well, first of all, most people fail a whole bunch of times. Failing is actually part of ultimate sobriety, because no one can really accept in their heart, right up front, that they can never do the substance again. Right? Suppose I was struggling with alcohol and I know I had to give it up. I'm not really accepting the fact that I have to give it up for the rest of my life. So recovery is actually a process of recovery and then relapse, and recovery and then relapse. And if they understand that, then they can get back up on the horse a little more quickly. Look, you had a relapse. You know you need to recover. Get back to it. Now, most people won't jump right back to it because they want to play some more. Most of the time when I used to work with heroin addicts down the Lower East Side, and before they would go in the hospital, they would take more heroin than you could believe, right? Because it's the day before they go in the hospital. They want to get the last possible hit. They still want to play in the drug for a while before they have to give it up, because they know giving it up, although ultimately their life's going to be so much better, they don't see it. I've had so many people in recovery come and say to me, my life is so much better, I wish I had seen it 10 years ago. But they didn't. They're doing it now. Great. Relapse just is an indication that they have to work their program differently. That's all that is. No great failure. Simply part of being a human being. Right? Because working recovery is very hard. And again, I remember I said earlier, we don't like to do things that take a lot of effort. Recovery takes a lot of effort. Every single day, you want to drink or smoke or do whatever, and you just can't. Other questions or thoughts? Last slide. Okay, so here are some resources. Of course, we're going to put a plug for ourselves, the Faculty and Staff Assistance Program, right? We're free, we're confidential, we're voluntary. If we don't think we can help you, we're going to find you the best possible referral resource. But we're not the only players in town, right? Some people want to go other places. You all have mental health benefits. I don't know if you know that. You all have mental health benefits through United Behavioral Health. And if you want to get a referral through United Behavioral Health, you can call them directly. You have a benefit for outpatient counseling, for outpatient substance abuse treatment, and for inpatient substance abuse treatment. And if you have family members on it, that's a wonderful benefit. So it's for you and your family. That's another resource. 12-step programs and other recovery programs, I think they're invaluable. They really help a lot of people. So for the abuser, it's the 12-step program, AA or NA. For the family, it's like Al-Anon or Nar-Anon. You also have these same systems developing for sexual addiction, right? Sexual Addictions Anonymous. And I'm sure there's, for the family members, the Sexual Addiction Anon. This whole field is growing. Spending's Anonymous, Shopping's Anonymous. There's a lot of anonymous folks out there, right? But they're a resource. You meet other people walking the same path. You get to share the courage, the support, the resiliency, and that really provides you another way, again, of organizing your life around health and happiness rather than the addiction, right? The internet for information, again, my opinion, I'm not sure if Crystal feels the same way, but I don't see it as a place for treatment. It's a place for information. A lot of people are selling treatment programs. Try it if you're drawn to it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then you really then have to interact with real human beings and not just the machine. Okay? We didn't even talk about internet addiction. There's a whole internet addiction, right? So how can an internet addicted person get recovery on the internet? Right? And recovery is an interactive process. You have to in some ways come clean. I'm not sure you can come clean to Apple and to IBM. Oh, I'm going to confess to my Apple computer here. I don't think it works. But for some people it might. Personally, I think sitting there pressing keys is sort of a bad thing to spend so much time doing, but we seem to like it. I'm going to say just a little bit about a pornography addiction because as some of these addictions we're really pulled into it, and there are women who are victimized by pornography addictions, but I've done a lot of work with it. I got to tell you, men are victimized by pornography addictions. Why? Because it's the exact thing that would draw them in. They're like babes in the woods. If there was one thing that you could do for men to really screw them up around interpersonal relationships, you'd put a picture of a naked lady up there and all they had to do is press a button, like for 2 or 3 hours, they'd sit there forever. Just their sexual warm-up is so different. Sex is like right there all the time. They can look at a tree and have a sexual feeling, right? So now it's on the internet and these poor guys are pulled in for hours and hours, because it's one of the things they're predisposed to. Just like people with a history of alcoholism are predisposed to alcohol. You got to watch out for these things. And luckily, there's a growing number of sexual dependency treatment programs to help all these folks, because they're wasting hours and hours. And relationships are being destroyed by the simple act of pressing a button and looking at a naked picture. But that's what happens, right? It's easy. Give men an easy way to feel sexual, they're going to sit down there and do that, right? To have some understanding and compassion for that rather than judgment. You'd have to commit to it, stick to it to see if it works for you, whatever you choose, and continue activities to build health and happiness. We started with that, we're going to end with that, each and every day. Am I doing what I need to do to be as healthy and happy as possible? Any other questions or thoughts? And I am so good at this, I got us done exactly at 5 to 1, because I know you're all dying to get back to work. Hopefully not your addiction.
Very good, thank you.
This has been a UC San Diego Blinkcast. For more, visit us online at blinkcast.ucsd.edu.